Hi everyone, I'm Sonia Nain, your biology educator for class 10, and in this video we are starting new chapter control and coordination, and today we will cover part 1, that is control and coordination in animals. Life processes chapter we already completed. If you haven't watched, do watch the chapter. Here first we have the contents of chapter. What we are going to cover in this chapter is, first we will see control and coordination in animals, then neuron structure and function, reflex action, reflex arc. This is very important topic from your exam perspective. CBSE often asks questions on reflex action and reflex arc, human nervous system and human brain. These are the pictures of your NCRT. Okay, here we have this human brain. Okay, here we have this control and coordination in animals. Here we have these two words, control and coordination. What is control? Your parents control you. You should be knowing what is control. Similarly, our body controls our different responses and functions. Control we know. And now what is coordination? Coordination is when different organs in an organism work together to respond to something, and that something is stimulus. Coordination is similar to teamwork or group work. In teamwork, what we do, we have many members in a team. A goal is given to a team. A single goal is given to a team, and team members have to achieve that goal. Now each member have their own task to perform their task, either individually or they help each other. Team member will complete this goal by helping each other and completing their task. This is the scenario in teamwork or team or the group work. In similar situation is in coordination. What happens in coordination in our body? We have many organs in our body, and during coordination different organs of the body work together to respond to something, and that something is stimulus. Many organs in an organism work together to respond to a stimulus. Now what is the stimulus? Any change in the environment is known as stimulus to which living organisms respond. For example, if we take example of stimulus, stimuli is the plural form of stimulus. Alright, if there is one change in the environment, we will say stimulus. If there are more than one change in the environment, then we will use this term stimuli. Now here we have stimulus. Let's take an example of stimulus. If there is any change in temperature in our surrounding, our body can sense that, and then after sensing, our body will respond to that change. Our body starts sweating if there is high temperature outside. That change in temperature is stimuli. Alright, and our body will respond to that stimuli. Now you understand what is stimuli and what is coordination. Coordination is when different organs in an organism work together to respond to a stimulus, and stimulus is change in environment to which our body, living organisms body, respond. This is about coordination and stimulus. If I recall you, in previous sections in life processes chapter, we had discussed that for each life process there is system to perform that life process. Like in case of respiration, we had respiratory system, right? And in case of circulation, we had a circulatory system. For excretion purpose, we have excretory system. All system. Similarly, in case of control and coordination in animals, we do have systems to perform this function, and those systems are nervous system and endocrine system. So we have two systems for this function of control and coordination. First is nervous system, then we have this endocrine system. These are the two main systems. Okay, today we will cover this nervous system. Control and coordination in animals are provided by nervous and muscular tissues. There are two types of tissues, mainly two types of tissues are involved in this process of control and coordination. First is the tissues which are present in nervous system. They are the nervous tissues, and the tissues which are present in our muscles are the muscles tissue. If our body has to respond, there will occur movement, and movement is done with the help of muscles. So we are saying that muscular tissue is involved in control and coordination in animals. If anyone asks you what are the systems which are involved in control and coordination in animals, then you will answer nervous tissue and endocrine tissue. And what are the tissues involved? Tissues involved are nervous tissue and muscular tissue. This is that simple. Now, in stimuli, we have studied that respond. This term respond, response. Now, what do we mean response? Response is a reaction of our body to a stimulus. Whatever change in our environment, our body will respond to that change, and that reaction, our body will give a reaction to that change, and that reaction is the response of body. For example, if you accidentally touch a hot plate, a hot utensil, what will happen? very quickly remove your hand from that utensil, withdraw your hand, pull your hand back. Okay, this is the perfect example of response. What's your body is doing? Your body is responding to the change in environment, to the stimulus. Here stimulus is this hot plate, hot utensil. This is stimulus for us. Okay, and withdrawal of our hand, this is response of the body. So we know what is response, what is stimuli, and what is coordination. One more thing here, if you remember these things with the help of examples, so try to understand these things with the help of example. Now here next we have receptor. What is receptor? Receptors are the structures which are located at the tip of certain nerve cells. The cells which are present in our nervous system are nerve cells. And receptors, what are receptors in simple words? Receptor means receiver. Now if you text your friend is you are sender and your friend is receiver. Okay, receiver is which receives something. Now in this case receptor is a receiver which receive information from outside. The location of these receptors are nerve cells, the end of nerve cells. End of nerve cells is the location of receptor, and these receptors are responsible for detecting information. They receive information, they detect information from the environment. That change in environment is detected by receptors. Stimulus is detected by receptors. Simple. We have many kind of receptors in our body, but here we will discuss five important receptors. I can write down here. Receptor is receiver and stimulus is any change in environment. First receptor is photoreceptor. Photoreceptor. Photo means light. So stimulus for this receptor is light. If there is any change in light in the surrounding, then that change in light is detected by the photoreceptor, and these photoreceptors are present in the eye. This is the location of photoreceptors, where photoreceptors are found. They are found in eye, as the function of eye is to see, and we see with the help of light. So our eye trap light, and with the help of that light we see. So photoreceptors are present in the eye. Phonoreceptors. Phono means sound. So for phonoreceptors, stimulus is sound, and we hear sound with the help of ears. So they must be present in ears. Phonoreceptors are present in ears, and the stimulus for phonoreceptor are sound. Now gustatoreceptor. Gustato means taste. We have sense of different type of taste due to our tongue. With the help of tongue we can taste different food. So this taste is due to tongue. Why so? Because gustatoreceptors are present on the tongue. You have heard of taste buds. Those taste buds are gustatoreceptors. The stimulus for gustatoreceptor is taste. Now olfactoreceptor. Olfacto. Wherever you come across this term olfacto, olfactory, they are related to nose, and nose is related to smelling. So olfacto, smell. So for olfactoreceptor, the stimulus is smell, and smell, this function is done by nose. So olfactoreceptors are present in our nose. Thigmoreceptor. Thigmo means touch. So here stimulus for thigmoreceptor is touch, and these receptors are present in our skin. Hope you are now clear about these receptors. You have understood these different type of receptors, basic definitions. Alright, now we can move to the next slide. Here we have neuron. Neuron, you also have studied this in your ninth standard, but here as it is given in your NCERT, we will discuss this again. Neurons are also known as nerve cells. Neurons are the unit of nervous system, means they are the main unit of nervous system. Nervous system consists of these type of cells, nerve cell. They perform the function. Now they are the unit of nervous system, and they are also known as nerve cells. Neurons are the longest cell of animal body. This is the region. Their shape is also elongated. They are like this. This is the shape of neuron. They are elongated cell. They are the longest cell of the body. Their shape is different from the rest of the cells. Now the human body contains approximately 12 billion neurons. Over a billion of neurons present in our body. Okay, this is just a figure. No need to remember. Now this is function. The function of neuron is to process and transmit information. Now the stimulus or change in environment is transmitted to our nervous system with the help of these neuron. Transmission of information is done by neuron. Transmission of information is done by neuron. This is the function of neuron. Now here we have components of neuron. What are the components of neuron? If we see the structure of neuron, in structure of neuron, this is the diagram from your NCERT. Okay, and you have to practice this diagram. Now if we see the structure of neuron, these appendages, these branch-like structures, which giving it tree-like appearance, branch-like structure. These are dendrites. This is the component of neuron, dendrite. And this part is soma. Soma means main body, soma. So it is the main cell body. Nucleus is found. This dark brown is the nucleus of neuron. Elongated slender like part, axon. And this is the terminal part of neuron, which we say nerve ending. Alright, if we see here, each component of neuron perform a specialized function. They have their own function. Soma cell body contains nucleus, dendrite are the tree-like structure. Let me write down here, nucleus. And dendrites tree-like structures receive messages from other neuron. These dendrites are the receivers which receive stimulus from other neurons. Now axon. Axon is a long slender projection that conducts electrical impulse away from the cell body. They conduct nerve impulse. See, nerve impulse is received by dendrite, then further dendrites transfer this nerve impulse to the cell body, and from cell body this is carried out by axon away from the cell body. Let's say this is cell body of the neuron and this is axon. Impulse will be carried by the axon from the cell body in opposite direction, in this direction, so away from the cell body. So function of axon is to conduct nerve impulse away from the cell body, transmission of nerve impulse. Synapses. At the ending of neuron we have here, at the end of neuron here we have synapse, and after this synapse another neuron starts. Okay, aligns, adjacent neuron. So between two neurons, one neuron this and the adjacent neuron, there is a space. Okay, there is a junction, and this junction is known as synapse. And through this synapse transmission of nerve impulse occur, transmission of stimulus occur from one neuron to another neuron. Let me make you one more thing clear about nerve impulse. What is nerve impulse? When the stimulus enters into neuron, we use another term for that stimulus is nerve impulse or electrical impulse. As the stimulus travel from neuron, a charge is generated on the membrane of neuron. Here a charge is generated on the membrane of neuron. So we say electrical impulse or nerve impulse. We use this term. Don't get confused with stimulus, nerve impulse, electrical impulse. These are the same things. You understood? Structure of neuron, components of neuron. Components of neuron are cell body, dendrites and axon, and their function. Okay, and this is the diagram of neuron. Function of neuron is conduction of nerve impulse, transmission of nerve impulse. Now in our body we have different type of neurons. Like we have sensory neurons, then we have relay neurons, we have motor neurons. These are different neurons, and this we will discuss in our upcoming slide. Now here we have neuromuscular junction. What is neuromuscular junction? This is the diagram of neuromuscular junction, and it is taken from your NCERT. With this you can understand with the help of this diagram. Here we have, let's say, neuron 1. This is the dendrite of neuron 1, and this is the neuron. This is the end part of neuron. This is neuron 1, and here we have neuron number 2, second neuron, the adjacent neuron, and this is the dendritic part of neuron 2. Okay, this is case 1. Alright, now case second is again this we have a neuron here, and this is the dendrite. Here we have a muscle cell. This is muscle cell. This is the muscle cell. This is neuron we can write N here, and this is muscle cell, we can write M here. This is neuron N, and this is also neuron N. As the nerve impulse travel from this neuron N1 to neuron N2, this is nerve impulse. Here we have this gap. This gap is the connection between neuron 1 and neuron 2, and this is known as synapse in previous slide. Okay, synapse. In case 2 we have this neuron and muscle cell, and this space between here which connects, this is the space here which connects neuron to muscle cell, and this connection between neuron and muscle cell is known as neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction we can write here NM, and neuro M muscular junction J, and MJ, neuromuscular junction. What will happen? Let's say nerve impulse traveled through this axon part of neuron. As it reaches the end part of neuron, certain chemicals are released in this neuromuscular junction, and further these chemicals will transfer this nerve impulse from neuron to muscle cell. Okay, here same thing is shown in this diagram. Here this purple one is muscle fiber, muscle cell, and this here we have this axon. As the nerve impulse travel, and this is the end part of neuron. As it travels through end part of neuron, certain chemicals released, and further these chemicals help to transmit this nerve impulse from neuron to muscle cell. This is all about neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction is the junction between nerve cell and muscle cell. Let's say this is neuron, this is muscle cell, and this is neuromuscular junction, which is present between neuron and muscle cell. What will it do? It will transmit signal or nerve impulse or electric impulse from this neuron to muscle cell. This is the reason we say neuromuscular junction. You have to remember the definition of neuromuscular junction. What is neuromuscular junction and what is the function of neuromuscular junction? And here this we have the closer view of neuromuscular junction. This is the end part of neuron and this is the muscle cell. These are chemicals which help in transmission of nerve impulse from neuron to muscle cell. This is all about neuromuscular junction. Next we have another very important topic which is reflex actions. What are reflex actions? Reflex means sudden or quick. Okay, this is the meaning of reflex. Now what are the reflex actions? Reflex actions are the sudden actions in response to something in the environment. Okay, if we give a sudden reaction to anything, our body gives a sudden reaction to anything, that means a reflex action. Now if we see here the example of reflex action, what is the example? The best example is, let's say we accidentally put our hand on flame. What will we do? What will our body do? Our body will try to pull our hand back as early as possible, okay, without wasting any time. As flame is dangerous for our body and our body can sense this danger, so our body will try its best to pull hand back very quickly. And this quick withdrawal of our hand from the flame is the reflex action. Touching a flame, this is flame, let's say, and touching this flame is an urgent and dangerous situation. This is dangerous for our body as it can burn our skin. So it is dangerous for our body, and for the protection, our body will pull our hand quickly. And this quick response is known as reflex action. Now we understand what is reflex action. Here, second, another example also. We have another very good example also. When we are hungry and we see some delicious food, what will happen? We have water in our mouth becomes watery. This is not in our control. Okay, this is again a sudden process which is not under control. An example of reflex action. These are the two best examples of reflex action. These are not under our control. So now how would we respond to this? As these are sudden actions, our body need to perform these actions without any thought process, without thinking. We just remove our hand from flame. So these are sudden actions, and now we have to understand how does this reflex action happen so quickly. Now if we see process behind the reflex action, we have another very important term. This is reflex arc. Now what is reflex arc? If you understood what is reflex action, now everything is sorted. You will understand reflex action, you will understand process mechanism of reflex action, reflex arc. Okay, if this small topic is clear to you, what is reflex action? Reflex action is sudden action which happens suddenly without any thinking, with no thought process. It is not in our control. This just our body perform this in dangerous situations or in certain situations which are not in our control. Okay, these are sudden actions from our body. These are sudden responses. Here we have reflex arc. Reflex arc is the pathway taken by nerve impulse in a reflex action. Now when this reflex action happen, there is change in environment, and that change in environment is sensed by our body. Further, that change in response will act as a stimulus for our body. This we have already understood in previous slide. And that stimulus once enters into the neuron, we say it is a nerve impulse. Okay. Now these nerve impulses will travel in our body to generate a quick response. They will follow certain path in the body. As they travel in the body, the nerve impulse travel through the body. That nerve impulse will follow a certain path, a specified path, okay, to generate a quick response, to give a quick response. And that pathway which is followed by nerve impulse in a reflex action is known as reflex arc. This is a pathway which is followed by a nerve impulse inside the body in a reflex action. Now you understood what is reflex action, what is reflex arc. Now question comes here is, there are certain components of reflex arc as it is a pathway. See, this is same situation. If you have to tell anyone address, you will, what will you say? Go right, right, turn left. You will also tell them some few landmarks, okay, to reach that particular location. Same way in our body also we have certain components in our body to follow a pathway, specified pathway. Here we have reflex arc. It consists of receptor. First, when our body sense a stimuli, change in environment, how will our body sense that change in environment, that stimulus? Through a receptor, through a receiver. So there must be a receptor to sense the change in environment, to sense stimulus. Now the second part is sensory, afferent neuron. As the receptor received that change, then next function is sensory, afferent neuron. From that part, the information is received. From there, the afferent neuron. Notice A here. These are the afferent neuron. These afferent neurons will receive that, will sense that stimulus, change in environment, and transfer further that information, that stimulus, in the form of nerve impulse to spinal cord, central nervous system. We will discuss in our upcoming slide. For now, as of now, you can just remember spinal cord. Spinal cord is a part of central nervous system, and spinal cord we have in our back. Spinal cord is the part of central nervous system. It is the part of our control and coordination system. As the afferent neuron follow a pathway, it transmits information to spinal cord, which is the main center of reflex action. All the information of a reflex action is transmitted to this part, to this part, which is spinal neuron. All the nerves meet at this point, or all the nerves throughout the body meet at this point, and this point is spinal cord. After spinal cord, we have another important part, motor or efferent neuron. Notice in previous point we had afferent neuron, and here we have efferent neuron. Afferent neuron and efferent neuron both are the different things. Afferent neurons are the neurons which are sensory, and they transmit impulse from receiver, from receptor to spinal cord. And motor neurons are the efferent neurons. They have a different function. They will transmit impulse. This is very simple. As they are neuron, they will transmit impulse. This is the function of neuron. Now, what is different? Difference lies in the direction followed by these two neurons. In case of motor neuron, the direction is opposite. Neuron will carry information from spinal cord to body organ, to effector. The body organ which will give response is effector, and motor neuron will carry information from spinal cord, from central nervous system, to this effector molecule, to this effector part. Effector part is any part which will give response. Like in case of flame, when we pull our hand back, what was the effector molecule? Effector molecule was the muscle of our hands, were the effector molecule, but the effector part, not molecule, but the effector were the effector part. So now here we understand what is receptor. Receptor is like our skin can serve as receptor. Next we have this effector molecule. What is the difference between sensor and effector? Sensor or receptor. Receptor is the part which first time receive any stimulus, and effector is the part which will give response. If we see example of receptor, receptor is skin. In our skin we have thigmoreceptors. This we have discussed in previous slide, that in our skin we have thigmoreceptors which sense touch. These senses heat. Let's say skin receives heat, like change in temperature. This change is transmitted to sensory neuron, afferent neuron, and now it will serve as, this change in temperature will serve as nerve impulse, and this nerve impulse is taken up by the afferent neuron, and these afferent neuron then transmit this to central nervous system. This is the function of afferent neuron. Now from central nervous system to, now from, as Once these nerve impulses are transmitted to central nervous system, spinal cord will analyze the condition, what is the condition outside, and then send this information again back to motor neuron. The information from spinal cord is carried out by motor neuron or the efferent neuron. And where will they carry this information? To effector part. Okay. And what is this effector part? Effector part is any muscle or gland. Effector part is the part which causes movement, which causes any response. That part is known as effector part. That can be a muscle or gland. You have to just remember these components of reflex arc: receptor, sensory neuron, then central nervous system, which is spinal cord, and motor, efferent neuron, and effector. Effector can be any muscle or gland. Now if you understand these components of the reflex arc, then you can understand easily the mechanism of reflex arc. But if you don't understand these components of reflex arc, you won't be able to understand the whole process of reflex arc. So to understand reflex arc, you should be knowing what is receptor, what is sensory neuron, spinal cord, motor, efferent neuron, effector. You have to remember these components no matter what. You can remember this in flow chart. Like first comes receptor, then comes sensory neurons, okay, which will transmit information from receptor to central nervous system. After sensory neuron we have central nervous system, which is spinal cord. Then from spinal cord we have motor neuron. After motor neuron we have this effector part, and effector part can be muscle or gland. Here we have the mechanism of reflex arc. This is given in your NCERT. This diagram is very important. You have to practice this diagram. Here in this diagram, what is shown, this is the mechanism of reflex arc. With the help of diagram, if you try to understand this, here we have hot utensils. Okay, here we have a hot utensil. Let's say if someone accidentally touch this hot utensil, what will happen? The skin of our hand will sense that this is hot and this is dangerous for the body. This is dangerous for the skin as it can burn our skin. The receptors present in the skin will sense the heat and the pain, and these are the receptors present in our skin. So first comes receptor. Once receptor senses this heat or pain, this heat or pain will act as a stimulus. This heat and pain will act as stimulus. This is the information. This is the change in environment which is perceived by our body. As our body senses this stimulus, this stimulus travels through the body with the help of sensory neuron. This red one, this red line is sensory neuron. What will sensory neuron do? Sensory neuron will transfer this information from the receptor to the spinal cord, to the central nervous system. Here we have this central nervous system, this butterfly-like structure. This butterfly is spinal cord. Now here we have this spinal cord, which is part of central nervous system. This is the main part of central nervous system, spinal cord, in case of reflex action. Okay, this is the center of reflex action, spinal cord, where the analysis occur. As this impulse travels to through sensory neuron into the spinal cord, what will happen? Inside the spinal cord we have another type of neurons, relay neurons. Okay, and what is the function of relay neurons? Function of relay neurons is, let's say this is our sensory neuron and this is our motor neuron. Now in between the sensory neuron and motor neuron, inside the spinal cord, here we have a relay neuron. What is the function of relay neuron? Relay neuron will transfer this information from sensory neuron to motor neuron. What will happen? As the sensory neuron sends their information to to relay neuron, they will analyze this change, and then further on analyzing this change, they will send an order. They will send an information to motor neuron, like what action they have to perform, what action effector should perform in this condition. The information is again transferred to motor neuron via relay neuron. So we have this sensory neuron, this is motor neuron, this is relay neuron, and this is motor neuron. These are three neurons. Sensory neuron carries impulse, and then this relay neuron will transfer this nerve impulse from sensory neuron to motor neuron. On analyzing the condition, what is happening in outside the body, what is the stimulus, what is the change inside the spinal cord. This relay neuron will transmit this information to motor neuron, and further this here we have this message to brain. Message is sent to effector part is muscle. So as the message is sent to the muscle through effector neurons, what is the message? Message is that pull your hand back, it can be dangerous. So we pull our hand back on receiving the message, and that message is carried by motor neurons, and they are transferred to muscle part. Now muscle part will allow movement of the hand, and we withdraw our hand quickly. And this is very sudden activity, and this is not in our control. Again, I'm saying you, this all happening without any thinking process. In spinal cord, there is no thinking process occurs inside the spinal cord. It's just transmission of information to make muscle part perform their function. There is no thinking process in this mechanism of reflex arc. It's a sudden process, as thinking process takes time, and we have no time to think in these conditions. So what will happen? This is whole arrangement of reflex arc, and this arrangement is made to reduce this time of thinking. So here what is the condition? The muscle is directly linked to the spinal cord with the help of these neurons, so that spinal cord can directly cause movement of muscle and create reflex arc and create reflex action. So this is the pathway of reflex action, and this is reflex arc, how the reflex action happen. Now you have to draw this diagram and practice. Also you have to remember components of reflex arc. Definition of reflex action, definition of reflex arc. This is very simple. You have just to remember sensory neuron, receptor, sensory neuron, then spinal cord, then inside the spinal cord we have relay neuron, then motor neuron, then effector part. Effector part can be any muscle or gland. In this example, effector part is muscle. The muscles we have in our arm are the effector part. Now you understood how these processes happen when we accidentally touches anything hot, like hot utensil or flame. We pull our hand back. This is example of reflex arc. And how does it happen inside our body? What is the pathway followed during these reactions? How the stimulus is transferred to the central nervous system for the coordination and control. This we have understood. Now there is no thinking process in the reflex arc, and you have to remember this thing. This process is not in our control. This is involuntary process. There are two types of process: involuntary process and voluntary process. Involuntary processes are the processes which are not in our control. They are performed by our body unconsciously. We can't control these processes. These are not in our control. These are involuntary processes, and voluntary processes are the processes which can be controlled by our body. These are the processes which are in our control, and we perform these processes by thinking. So these are the processes which are in our control. So voluntary processes are the controllable processes. This is about voluntary and involuntary processes, and reflex arc is involuntary process. This is not in our control. Understood what is voluntary process and involuntary process? What is the difference between them? One is in our control and the another one is in not our control. Here we have next important topic is human nervous system. Okay, human nervous system is the system which perform control and coordination in animals. Now we will try to understand nervous system in human, our nervous system. If we see, human nervous system is of two types: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. And central nervous system is the main system we are going to cover in your 10th class syllabus, and peripheral nervous system you will study in higher classes in detail. Now central nervous system consists of two parts. It has two components. First is brain, second is spinal cord. These are the two main components of central nervous system. I have written here too. It consists of both brain and spinal cord. These are the two main parts of human nervous system. Central nervous system is protected by certain elements, skeletal elements. So as our central nervous system is protected by skeletal protection. What is skeletal? Skeletal is protection. By skeletal is bones, and our brain is protected by bones, okay, by bony structures. Now this bony structure is known as cranium. This is our cranium, okay. This part is our cranium, which is protecting our brain, and brain is the part of central nervous system. So we can say that our cranium is protecting the brain. This is skull. Inside the skull we have this cranium part which is protecting brain. Spinal cord. Spinal cord is also a part of central nervous system, so it also have protection. It is protected by vertebral column. Vertebral column also comes under our skeleton as it is made up of bony parts. So vertebral column protects our spinal cord. Everyone knows that vertebral column are present in our back, and these vertebral columns protects our spinal cord, and cranium protects our brain. Okay, the cranium is box like structure which protects our brain, and vertebral column protects spinal cord. These were the skeletal protection of central nervous system. In case of brain we have cranium. In case of spinal cord we have vertebral columns. In for vertebral column, if I make you clear in Hindi, reed ki haddi. We use reed ki haddi term for vertebral column. In Hindi we will say reed ki haddi. And cranium, skull, खोपड़ी. Skull के अंदर होता है cranium. Peripheral nervous system. The communication between the central nervous system and the other parts of the body is facilitated by the peripheral nervous system through cranial nerves and spinal nerves. So here now we have peripheral nervous system. In peripheral nervous system there is no part like brain and spinal cord, but peripheral nervous system consists of nerves. There are various nerves in peripheral nervous system. In the central position of our body. This is our center, okay, and this is also our center. So in our center we have central nervous system, brain and spinal cord. Now in the peripheral part we have peripheral nervous system, and this peripheral nervous system communicate between central nervous system and other parts of the body through nerves, okay. And in peripheral nervous system, so I can write here that it is made up of nerves, and these nerves connects the different parts of body to central nervous system. And here we have two type of nerves. First is cranial nerves. Cranial, as the name suggests, these are the nerves which arises from brain, and spinal nerves, these are the nerves which comes from spinal cord. Now you understand what are spinal nerves and cranial nerves. Cranial nerves arises from the brain, and spinal nerves arises from the spinal cord, and these nerves are present in throughout the body, in all body parts, and they connect different body parts to central nervous system. This is the function of peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system consists of nerves, cranial nerves and spinal nerves, and our central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord. This is very easy. You can easily remember these things: human nervous system, brain and spinal cord, peripheral nervous system, various type of nerves, cranial nerves and spinal nerves. This is about your human nervous system. Next we have this very important topic, human brain. Human brain is enclosed in cranium or brain box. The skeletal component is which is protecting our brain from accidents, and cranium is the brain box which is protecting brain. Alright, and brain is the part of central nervous system. It is protected by cerebrospinal fluid which acts as a shock absorber. Now this cerebrospinal fluid surrounds brain, okay, this and as well as present in the brain. This fluid act as a shock absorber. If our body undergoes in any shock, this cerebrospinal fluid will function as a shock absorber. This is the fluid which protects our brain. It will act like as a cushion for our brain that protects our brain from different kind of shocks and accidents. So it is a kind of shock absorber which is present in our brain and protects our brain. This is a fluid, cerebrospinal fluid. If we see the components of human brain, there are three components of human brain: forebrain, number 1, midbrain, number 2, number 3, hindbrain. Forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. These are the three components of our human brain. Now you understand human brain. Here we have the diagram of human brain. This diagram is given in your NCERT. Human brain. If you see this diagram, here we have this part forebrain. This depicts this whole part is forebrain, and this forebrain consists of cerebrum. These folded structures, these folded structures, these represents cerebrum, and this is the outer covering of brain. This is the bony outer covering of brain, this, okay, and this is skull or cranium, okay. Now midbrain. After forebrain we have midbrain, okay. This spatula like structure, this structure is midbrain. This spoon like structure is midbrain, understand. Now here we have hindbrain. After midbrain we have hindbrain. This is the below the midbrain we have this hindbrain, and hindbrain consists of three parts: pons, medulla, and cerebellum. See here in hindbrain we have cerebellum, and in forebrain we have cerebrum. You have to remember this thing. Don't confuse between. Never get confused between cerebrum and cerebellum. Cerebrum is forebrain and cerebellum is hindbrain. Cerebellum is hindbrain and cerebrum is forebrain. In hindbrain we have pons, medulla, cerebellum, alright. And in midbrain we have hypothalamus. This hypothalamus region comes under midbrain. This is hindbrain. Now after hindbrain we have this spinal cord. In continuity of hindbrain we have this spinal cord. This is about human brain, which is the component of human nervous system, central nervous system. Okay, now you have to remember these different parts of brain: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. In forebrain we have cerebellum, and then we have this midbrain, okay, and in hindbrain we have pons, medulla, and cerebellum. You have to remember these things. Now we can move to the next slide. Okay, if we see the function of different parts of brain, very basic functions which are given in your NCERT. No need to do something in detail, just do with whatever given in your NCERT, and these are the few important points which are given in your NCERT, and we will try to understand these. Okay, so in forebrain we have this cerebrum. Cerebrum, forebrain, is the main thinking part of the brain. In your NCERT it is mentioned that cerebrum, which is the part of forebrain, it is the main thinking part of the brain. Whatever thinking process occurs inside the body, this process is done by the forebrain. And which part of forebrain? Cerebrum. There are separate areas of forebrain. We have seen the cerebrum, which is forebrain. Okay. Now in cerebrum there are different areas, and these different areas, these separate areas have specialized function. Like say this one area is specified for hearing purpose. Whatever hearing our ears do, they will be processed in this part of the brain, cerebrum. Now smell, okay, this process, what kind of smell there is, so this processing of smell is done by cerebrum. Sight, okay, recognition, what we have seen in our surrounding. Sight is perceived by eyes, and if view is perceived by eyes, then what is the view? This is processed by the cerebrum. The scene is perceived by the eye, and what is there in the scene, that is processed by the forebrain, cerebrum part of the forebrain. Now we know functions of cerebrum: hearing, smell, and sight. These are the function of cerebrum. You have to remember these functions: hearing, smell, and sight. These are the main functions, okay, and these main functions are performed by cerebrum, forebrain. Alright, and the center linked with hunger. Whenever we feel hungry, that hunger, okay, that feeling of hunger arises due to cerebrum. It is the activity of cerebrum. Now, receive sensory impulses. Whatever our body senses, voluntary senses, which are under our control. So those senses are sensed by our impulse. Those sensory impulse are processed inside our cerebrum. Now it receives sensory impulse, okay. It has specialized for hearing, areas for hearing, smell, sight, and hunger. You have to remember these things, okay. Now midbrain is associated with vision. Our eyes do this vision, and this vision is associated with midbrain. Hearing also, motor control, sleep and wake cycle. Every person has a sleep wake cycle, and this sleep wake cycle, when does a person sleep, when does a person wake, this is a cycle, and this cycle is controlled by midbrain, okay, and it is important, you have to remember this thing. And temperature regulation, our body has a certain temperature, and in fever that temperature goes high. Temperature is controlled by midbrain. It connects the forebrain with the hindbrain. There is, let's say this is forebrain and this is our hindbrain. Between forebrain and hindbrain, we have this midbrain. So midbrain connects forebrain and hindbrain. Hindbrain is the main part of hindbrain is cerebellum. Cerebellum, it maintains posture and balance of the body. It maintains our balance of the body whenever we walk, whenever we stand. It maintains our posture. Cerebellum maintains our balance of the body and maintains our posture. Next is it control involuntary action like salivation, vomiting, blood pressures. These are the things which are controlled by hindbrain. Respiration, we have discussed in life processes chapter. That process of respiration in human is controlled by hindbrain. That rate of breathing is controlled by hindbrain. Respiration is controlled by hindbrain. Vomiting, the process of vomiting is controlled by hindbrain. These are the things which are controlled by brain, and you have to remember these things: hearing, smell, sight, and then sleep, wake, body temperature. This is very important. You have to keep in your mind that temperature regulation is done by midbrain, and respiration regulation and vomiting regulation is done by hindbrain. You have to keep these things in your mind. This is very important. This is all about human brain, parts of human brain, and different functions of human brain. This must be understood. And today's video we have covered human nervous system, human brain, central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, reflex action, reflex arc, neuron. Okay, these were the topics we discussed today. Hope you are clear. Now here we have this key takeaways. To sum up, we can start with neuron. We have studied neuron. Neurons are the unit of nervous system. What is their function? They transmit, they carry nerve impulses inside the body. And you have seen the structure of neuron. Neuron consists of dendrites, dendrites, cell body, and axon. These are the parts of neuron. And we have three types of neuron in our body: sensory neuron, relay neuron, and motor neuron. This we have covered in reflex action part. In reflex arc, we have seen that we have three types of neuron: sensory neuron, which carry sensory impulse; relay neuron, which transmits sensory impulse to motor impulse. Okay, and third we have motor neuron, which carries nerve impulse, which are transmitted to effector part. Now here we have reflex arc. This is all about neuron. Reflex arc. In reflex arc is pathway taken by nerve impulse in reflex action, and reflex actions are the sudden actions. Reflex actions are the sudden actions. Okay, and they are the involuntary actions. Involuntary. These actions are not in our control. The center of reflex arc is spinal cord. Reflex actions are controlled by spinal cord. The muscles are connected directly to spinal cord through nerve cells. Now here we have central nervous system. Human central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord. Okay, and these are protected in, brain is protected in cranium, and spinal cord is protected in vertebral column. We have seen function of spinal cord. Main function of spinal cord is in reflex actions, and in the main function of brain is control and regulation of different body parts and their functions. And human brain consists of forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. In forebrain we have studied cerebrum. Okay, function of cerebrum. And in midbrain is the connection between forebrain and hindbrain. Alright, and the function of midbrain is temperature regulation. And in hindbrain we have cerebellum. We have this cerebellum, pons, and medulla. And the function of hindbrain is respiration, control, and other functions too. Here one important point is brain stem. Brain stem is the midbrain and pons and medulla part. Midbrain, pons, and medulla part will constitute this brainstem. Okay, this is clear now. You have to remember these things. We completed this control and coordination in animals. Okay, in next part 2 of control and coordination, we will cover hormones in animals. Today we have covered nervous system. In next part 2, we will cover endocrine system, which is the chemical coordination in animals. Thank you. All the best.